This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. Shang also noticed it at the same time, and both of them were shocked. This person was a martial emperor, and yet he was killed right beside them. This was too terrifying. Gulu gulu. The corpse's mouth kept bubbling and sinking. The remaining gas in the body was evaporating for the last time. It was obvious that the corpse had just died. Shang's eyes were serious. When the corpse passed by him, the ferocious face seemed to be sneering, and an inexplicable sense of danger spread in his heart. There was no sign of it. He just felt that the instinct of a warrior made him feel extremely uncomfortable. Suddenly, he felt a sharp pain in his stomach. Bang! It was as if a bomb had been placed in his body, and it suddenly exploded. An extremely overbearing force wreaked havoc in his body, crushing all his meridians and starting to rush into his limbs and bones. The violent force burst out from his aperture acupoints, just like the dead guard in the lake. Shang was shocked as he was suddenly seriously injured. Fortunately, his demonic body was strong. Four ancestral bloodlines appeared on his body. His demonic power suddenly wrapped around his body, forming a defensive power around him and healing his body at a rapid speed. What's going on? The two of them were greatly shocked. Such a strange attack actually exploded directly from the inside of their bodies, leaving no trace at all. Suddenly, Yunxiao turned into a bolt of lightning and shot toward the surface of the lake. As long as he left the lake, he would be much safer. Suddenly, his body stopped moving. The water seemed to have turned into a thick paste, and a large amount of emperor qi was spreading in the paste. His body of thunder and lightning suddenly broke apart, revealing his true form. He could not even raise his hand. In the surrounding lake water, a terrifying aura spread out. The water elements seemed to be extremely restless. Not good. Yunxiao was shocked. In the Double Seal's tower, he had cultivated the affinity with the elemental origin, and his keen divine sense had sensed great uneasiness. He made a hand seal instantly, and black demonic qi gushed out of his body. Under the dazzling light, the demonic sky armor broke out of his body, forming a defense that repelled the lake water. At that moment, the violent elements in the water finally reacted and exploded. Bang bang. A huge force swept over with a splash of water, directly crushing the demonic sky armor's defense and blasting on his body, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blood. Your sister. What monster? I don't believe this. Fire. Yunxiao roared as a flame rose from his hand. It grew bigger and bigger, pushing the water dozens of meters away from him and forming a huge space of fireballs. Inside, his eyes turned into blood moons as he stared coldly at the lake. Shang's expression changed as well, as if he had sensed something wrong in the water. He struck out with his palm, and demonic power surged out of his body, pushing the water away. A huge explosion rang out beside him. The impact was strong, but it was all blocked. Yunxiao's pupils constricted, but he immediately regained his clarity. Let's see if you're still hiding. He changed his hand seals, and the huge fireball shot out a flame that turned into a phoenix. It rushed out with a whoosh, and its target was the corpse. Bang! The corpse was hit and immediately burst into flames. An imperceptible light shot out and disappeared into the water. Shang threw the armillary sphere into the water, and a beam of celestial power shot out, locking the space in place. A transparent figure could be seen moving in the water. Humph, you're courting death. Power of the world, transform. Shang slapped the armillary sphere, and the power of the world rippled out. The entire lake was about to form a heavenly cycle of stars. The figure seemed to have sensed danger. His body suddenly moved, and a stream of water power turned into a giant statue behind him. It opened its mouth and roared, punching in all directions. The entire lake was disturbed and rippled. Water element critical strike. The man let out a loud roar as he unleashed a powerful punch. In an instant, he sent out hundreds of fist shadows, which shattered the star-shaped phenomenon that had yet to take shape. Then, the figure gradually revealed his true form in front of the giant water spirit. It was an old man in silk. He had the shrewd look of a merchant on his face, and did not look like a warrior at all. "It's you." Shang was stunned. "You haven't paid yet, so I'm here to collect the bill," the old man laughed dryly. The old man was the owner of the restaurant. He was the one who was thrown away by a martial sovereign of the Red Moon City and disappeared into the sky. "I understand now," Shang said. "There was something wrong with the wine I drank in the restaurant, so your first attack just now was to trigger the remaining energy in my body and make it explode from the inside." The old man squinted his eyes and smiled. "There's no problem with the wine, but it's a problem when it comes to me. Where's Li Yi? Hand him over and you can leave." He said resentfully. "Li Yi? You're from Death God Palace?" Senior Jianan is ranked 4th among the 8 symbols. Xiaoba's voice came from the vortex. Then, 2 figures rushed up, one after the other. "It feels great to recover my strength," Xiaoba said with a proud smile. "Mr. Shang, we meet again." "Where's second?" Jianan asked. The tyrannical sky tiger smiled bitterly. He lost the billion-soul live streamer and all the meridians in his body were shattered. The impact he suffered is too great. He doesn't want to come out. Then let him rest inside for a while. I'll come back to take him away in the future. Jianan nodded. "If you have lost hundreds of millions of souls, you can just go to the Soul Devourer sect and steal some to refine. Do you have to be so dispirited?" A peak Earth-class soul slave couldn't even block Ning Qiue's sword, the tyrannical sky tiger sighed. "It's a huge blow to him. With Ning Qiue's strength, I'm afraid only you can subdue her," Jianan said. "Seniors, now is not the time to chat. Let's leave the Red Moon City first," Xiaoba said. "There's no hurry," Jianan said. "I've already set up a heaven and earth reversal formation on the lake. The people of Red Moon City won't be able to discover the problem for a while. We'll capture the 2 of them first. I'm afraid we'll need to use Jiang Ruobing to get out of the city." The 3 men's eyes fell on Yunxiao and Shang at the same time, and their eyes were filled with hostility. "Seniors," Xiaoba laughed, "is it okay for us to bully you with our numbers?" "Humph." Jianan snorted coldly. "As long as we complete the mission, we'll do whatever it takes. You're really a disgrace to the 8 symbols. I'll leave Yunxiao to you, and 5th brother, and I will deal with this demon beast." Yunxiao felt a little dizzy. He said with a wry smile, "The 3 of you, I have no grudges with you. I don't have Li Yi or Jiang Ruobing in my hands, and I have a grudge with this demonic beast. As the saying goes, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Since we're all friends, why don't you let me go first?" "Let you go? You even tried to set me on fire just now, and you still want me to let you go?" Jianan sneered. "Since this person is of no use, then kill him. Do it." As he shouted, the 3 of them immediately split up into 3 rays of light and attacked the 2 of them. Shang listened to them quietly, and the killing intent in his eyes grew stronger. "You're looking for death." His body suddenly transformed into a demon, revealing an evil look. He suddenly became several times taller. Holding the armillary sphere in his hand, he rushed into the battle circle. In an instant, Xiaoba flew to Yunxiao's side and said with a smile, "Now, you and I are fighting one-on-one. It's finally a fair fight. I've always been curious about how strong you are." "He's just a 6 stars martial supreme," Yunxiao said with a chuckle. "How strong can he be?" "You're considered a killer with the spirit of martial Dao. With such grace and elegance, you're really not suitable to fight with me." Xiaoba blinked. "You're right. But I've received an order to kill you. What should I do?" "How about this?" Yunxiao laughed. "It's too ungentlemanly to compete in martial arts. Let's have a competition in literature." "A competition of words? Interesting. But if you lose, will you let me kill you?" Xiaoba asked. Yunxiao laughed. I've never seen anyone who can beat me in a literary competition. How you want to compete, it's up to you. Xiaoba thought for a while and said, how about this, let's make it simple, we'll fight couplets. If you can't match it, you lose, and if you lose, you die. You want me to kill you even if you lose? Yunxiao laughed. Xiaoba raised his eyebrows and said, of course. My name is Xiaoba, and I'm known as the genius of the 8 departments. If I didn't have some skills, would I have agreed to your request? Alright, then I'll show my incompetence. Yunxiao pondered for a moment, then said with a smile, listen well, the first half is, I'm not in a good mood, so please don't disturb. You're not in good health. Don't pick a fight. Not bad. Interesting. Yunxiao clapped his hands and laughed. The 3 men were engaged in a fierce battle over there, and all kinds of energy fluctuations were coming from them. The entire lake was completely thrown into chaos, but the 2 men turned a blind eye to it. Xiaoba snorted and looked around the battlefield. Shang's eyes were like stars as he shot out 2 sharp attacks, shattering the upper body of the giant water spirit. Xiaoba had an idea and shouted, demon head, evil face, shoot 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 2 cold eyes. Pointing at Jianan, Yunxiao was performing an incantation gesture with a solemn face to restore the giant spirit's body. Then, he reached out to grab Shang and said with a smile, a human body and a ghost face, and a turtle head. Bah, vulgar. Xiaoba scoffed and said with a look of disdain, couplets are supposed to be elegant, but why does it have a completely different flavor when it comes out of your mouth? Shang's armillary sphere flew out of his hand and began to form the stars in the sky. The power of the world spread out and devoured all the attacks. It's so well connected, Xiaoba praised in surprise. One move can penetrate the east and west, and transform the stars in the sky. Jianan and the tyrannical sky tiger were shocked, as if they had realized that Shang's armillary sphere was not ordinary, and quickly retreated under the power of the world. Yunxiao said with a smile. I know how to be elegant, too. 3 mountains 5 peaks, half-style traversing north and south, suppressing 2 little ghosts. No, no, no. Xiaoba shook his head repeatedly. Although the battle is neat, it still feels weird. We can't use the scene in front of us as a contrast. We have to think of something out of thin air. Then I'll satisfy you. Listen up. 3 talents, Yunxiao blurted out. Heaven, earth, and man. After saying that, he smiled and looked over. Xiaoba was stunned. This couplet seemed simple, but it was impossible to match. The first part used the word a 3, so the second part could not be repeated. There were only 3 words below the word a 3, so no matter which number you used to match it, the words that followed were either more than 3 or less than 3. Xiaoba was stunned and said, 3 talents, heaven, earth, and man, it's impossible to match them. There's nothing you can't do in this world, Yunxiao said with a smile. You've lost. Unless you can match it yourself, it can't be considered a win. Xiaoba retorted. Listen up, Yunxiao said with a faint smile. 10,000 in one color. Xiaoba's head was dizzy as he said, this. What Yunxiao was facing was exactly the same color in mahjong. It could either be a cylinder of one color, 1,000 pieces of one color, or a bar of one color. Can't you be a little more elegant? Xiaoba said. If you want to be elegant, that's fine too. 9 chapters on the hook. Xiaoba's mouth was wide open, and cold sweat began to form on his forehead. He could actually think of a few of such absolutes. There's also the 4 seasons, summer, autumn, and winter. Yunxiao laughed out loud and said, 10 poems, 9 chapters, and 8 literary ideas. Compared with my literary knowledge, you are still far from it. I'll kill you with my head. There are 4 seasons in a year. Spring, summer, autumn, and winter. What about spring? You've lost, Yunxiao said with a smile. I'm going to kill you soon. Will you still have a spring? Xiaoba, Ingluo. Just as he was in a daze, the battle over there had already turned into a complete mess. After Shang revealed his demonic form and heavenly cycle stars, he was actually suppressing Jianan and the tyrannical Sky Tiger, steadily gaining the upper hand. The two of them were heavily injured and were spitting out blood. It was a tragic sight. Jianan's giant water spirit had even crumbled several times, and it was difficult for it to even consolidate its form now. He sneaked a glance over and almost vomited blood in anger. He roared in rage, "Xiaoba, what are you doing? Hurry up and kill that scum and come help." "Senior Jianan," Xiaoba said dejectedly. "I lost the competition. What should I do?" Pfft. Jianan finally spat out a mouthful of blood. He said furiously, "Compare your sister with words. Quickly kill him and come help, fifth brother, and I can't hold on much longer." As he was speaking, 2 attacks shot out from Shang's silver horn on his forehead, breaking through his water elemental defense. The aftermath blasted into Jianan's body, washing his internal organs and causing him to spit out another mouthful of blood. "I don't think this is a good idea," Xiaoba said embarrassedly. "One must keep his word. If you don't believe him, you can't stand." "I'll believe your sister." Jianan spat out a large mouthful of blood. His hands quickly formed seals to repair the damage to his body. He retreated at an extremely fast speed and began to fight. The stars in the sky were formed by the armillary sphere. Both he and tyrannical Sky Tiger felt as if they were in outer space. All of their yuan energy was restricted by the power of the stars, and they couldn't use it to their heart's content. The more they fought, the weaker they were. The tyrannical Sky Tiger didn't know whether to laugh or cry. A loss is a loss. "I'll fulfill my promise next time."
Yeah.
Xiaoba clapped his hands and said to Yunxiao with a smile, "There's a reason for this. I'll let you kill me next time." Yunxiao stared at Shang, his eyes flashing. When he came back to his senses, he smiled and said, "Go, it's more important to kill this demon." Xiaoba was jolted out of his depression. A sword appeared in his hand and he laughed as he charged towards Shang. His sword flashed and the sword light turned into the head of a beast. It roared and slashed towards Shang. Shang's face darkened. He raised his right fist and punched the beast's head, instantly dispersing the sword light. However, the sword chi was so powerful that it cut off the muscles and meridians on his arm, causing dozens of streams of blood to spray out. Shang roared in anger, "You can come in too." Several beams of light hit the armillary sphere, and the Earth axis spun with a clang, displaying the latitude and longitude of the Earth and instantly covering the entire lake. Even Yunxiao was not spared. The whole world turned into a galaxy, filled with twinkling stars. "Your sister, what kind of profound armament is this? It's actually so abnormal." Jianan vomited a mouthful of blood in grief and indignation. What he had thought was an easy task had actually turned into this situation. Moreover, looking at the other party's appearance, they were undoubtedly going to be killed. "I was afraid that I'd make too much noise and attract the elites of the Red Moon City," Shang replied coldly. "Now it seems that the illusory formation you set up is very effective. I don't have to worry about killing the 4 of you." Jianan felt bitter in his heart. This was completely shooting himself in the foot. Shang's hands were constantly changing hand seals, as if the world had yet to fully develop. The stars in the sky began to shine intensely, spinning in the sky at an extremely fast speed, as if forming a huge formation that emitted a terrifying power. The hearts of the 3 men and Yunxiao trembled. This method of using the sun, moon, and stars as an array was simply sensational. Even the great heavenly cycle generated by a profound artifact made them shudder. Yunxiao finally moved. He could no longer watch. He knew that if the 8 elephants were killed, he would not be able to escape. Even if he encountered a stronger martial emperor, Yunxiao was confident that he could fight with him, or at least survive. But when it came to Shang, a great demon who had the same experience as him and could completely control a supreme-grade profound-level weapon, he had no confidence at all. "Everyone, let's break this phenomenon together. Otherwise, we're really done for." Yunxiao could no longer care about anything else. After roaring, he took out the Divine Realm tablet, which emitted a 9-colored glazed light. The power of the world circulated around the tablet, pushing open the dark night. It suddenly turned into a huge mountain in the sky and smashed down on the armillary sphere. The three men were taken aback. They had almost lost all hope under the strange phenomenon, but after Yunxiao's shout, the unyielding and tenacious character of a warrior was stimulated. Looking at the power of the Divine Realm tablet, which seemed to be no weaker than the armillary sphere, it gave them a boost of confidence. Go all out. I've lived for more than 100 years, and that's about enough. Even if I risk my life to kill this demonic beast, I'll still earn something. Water Elemental Critical Strike. Jian Nan roared in rage. His body gradually turned transparent, and water vapor condensed in the dark night. A giant water elemental spirit formed behind him, becoming more solid. Water Elemental Critical Strike. The giant water spirit opened its mouth wide and threw a punch into the air. The King Chi on the punch shattered the endless space and time, and it went straight for the armillary sphere and Shang, as if it was going to destroy all the phenomena. Sigh, it seems like I can't retire. The tyrannical Sky Tiger smiled bitterly and said, I've come out to make a living. I'll have to pay you back sooner or later. That's true. If I die in the line of duty, I wonder if boss will give me a nickname or something. A faint light flickered in his hand as he gathered energy. It became brighter and brighter as he used all his strength. A sword appeared out of thin air. He and the sword became one and cut through the void. I already owe my life anyway, said Xiaoba with a smile. If I die, it's Li Yunxiao's fault, not mine. A sword suddenly appeared in his right hand. He waved it a few times and the scabbard flew out with a clang. The sword light flashed and formed various images of demonic beasts in the space. Finally, it turned into a fierce tiger. As he stabbed with the sword, it roared and pounced on Wang Shang. Under the starry sky, the three extremely powerful martial sovereigns attacked with all their might, and the Divine Realm tablet shook in the air. The whole heavenly cycle star phenomenon began to crack inch by inch, as if victory was in sight. But, Shang's face was as calm as usual, and he seemed to be indifferent to the attacks of the three men. He just glanced at Yunxiao and chuckled. A saint artifact is not to be used as a brick. His eyes began to turn hazy as he said, the starlight that has never been extinguished since the ancient times, fall from the eternal sky. A silver-gray color flashed in his eyes as he pointed forward and said, Starfall. The entire universe seemed to be frozen at this moment. All time and space were still. The only thing that was still moving was the Divine Realm tablet. It was flowing with light and vibrant colors above and was not affected. But, Yunxiao was so anxious that he was suppressed by the power of the world generated by the grand microscopic armillary sphere. His control over the Divine Realm tablet grew weaker, and he was completely powerless. At this moment, the sky suddenly changed. Tens of thousands of stars turned into meteors and fell from the sky. It was as if the end of the world had arrived in front of the four of them. The universe was collapsing and everything was annihilated. Cold sweat dripped from the foreheads of the four people, but they were helpless. They could only watch as they were destroyed along with the world. Suddenly, Shang's expression changed. His eyes were filled with shock as he looked down. In the starry world, the scene below returned to the lake. From the black hole in the eye of the vortex, there seemed to be a leisurely and faintly discernible voice. Kowtowing on gold thread clothes, will falling into the devil. The clouds and water flow, the waves of the sky rise. Sweep away an army of thousands and guide them like a river. Empty embrace of 10,000 worlds, a song of the ages. The poem was intermittent and faintly discernible, but it clearly rang in everyone's ears. Yunxiao trembled. The poem was sung by him when Ning Qiuep performed the Song of Subduing the Soul, but it was not written at that time. It was created decades ago when he first saw the Song of Subduing the Soul on the purple cloud peak outside Hongyue City. At this moment, when he heard that voice, his mind was shaken and his mind went blank. At this moment of life and death, he actually forgot to think. Suddenly, a large number of prisoners' horrified roars came from the dungeon below. The sounds were mournful and terrifying. Suddenly, a ray of golden light shot out from the eye of the vortex and into the world of stars. 1, 2, 3 streaks of mist. A total of 9 rays of golden light shot up and instantly turned into 9 golden dragons. They bared their fangs and brandished their claws, disturbing the stars in the sky. The end of the world was interrupted at this moment, and the stars that filled the sky disappeared. The interference of the 9 dragons shocked Chi, and the power of the world gradually collapsed under the reeking of the 9 golden dragons. Finally, the dark night gradually cracked, and a dark green light shone in, revealing the real world in the lake. Pfft. A mouthful of blood spurted out of Shang's mouth. His eyes were filled with shock as he stared at the eye of the vortex, a chill rising in his heart. Yunxiao's face turned pale as he could not believe what he was seeing. 9 dragons soared, thousands of bodies. The voice was filled with endless shock, confusion, daze, confusion, and all sorts of other emotions.